Today, when we hear about government shutdowns, we think frozen paychecks, stalled budgets, politicians pointing fingers. But if you go back 250 years, you'll find the same story, only deadlier. Because when Congress failed in 1775, the cost wasn't missed paydays. It was hungry soldiers, collapsing trust, and the revolution itself on the verge of bleeding out. The First Continental Congress gathered in 1774 with no treasury, no steady revenue at all. Then came Lexington and Concord. Shots fired. War. Overnight, these men were tasked with paying an army without a dime to their name. They might have tried levying a tax, but how could they really? The revolution itself had been lit by the spark of taxation. To demand it now would have pretty much been political suicide, an act that looked too much like the tyranny they were fighting to escape. So their options were limited: beg, borrow, or print. In June of 1775, they chose that riskiest path, authorizing the first issue of currency, $2 million in Continental dollars. Not backed by gold, silver, or even land, just promises. Just faith. It was a gamble in ink. At first, maybe it felt bold, but it didn't take long and the cracks began to show. Soldiers in Boston were holding the siege lines and they expected wages, but instead they were being handed slips of paper. One officer wrote home bitterly, "A man may carry his wages in paper, yet may starve for want of bread." Merchants weren't big fans either. A Boston shopkeeper scrawled in his account book that he had been paid in Congress money, but left with nothing real to put in the till. Farmers, too, they saw through the illusion. A New Jersey diary sighed, "It is but paper, and who knows what it shall be worth." By October 1775, the truth was unavoidable. Every fresh batch of bills made the last weaker. Inflation crept in. Bread that once cost a single coin now demanded a handful of paper. Butchers posted 2 different price lists, one for coin, one for Congress notes. Others just refused the bills entirely. But really, what choice did Congress have? Foreign loans were still out of reach. States hoarded their own revenues, and so they doubled down. And in 1776, Congress printed another $5 million. Then more. Each issue eroded the trust further. The fallout spread. Families abandoned cash for barter, trading eggs for cloth, cider for salt, a day's labor for a pound of flour. In Virginia, tobacco receipts circulated like currency. In Massachusetts, towns issued their own notes redeemable someday. And all the while, soldiers were the ones who suffered most. After a month on campaign, a man might be handed crisp notes, only to find that the baker, the butcher, and even the tavern slammed their doors in his face. For men who risked their lives, it wasn't just insult. It felt like betrayal. By late 1776, the system was collapsing. Inflation raged, desertion loomed. The phrase "not worth a Continental" entered the colonial vocabulary, a damning verdict on the bills. Washington himself warned Congress that no army ever was or can be kept together without pay, and ours is now almost in a state of mutiny for want of it. This wasn't rhetoric. Camps in New York and New Jersey simmered with unrest. Soldiers muttered openly about deserting. Some threatened to lay down arms unless real money appeared. What saved it wasn't the bills. It was sacrifice. Communities loaned what they could. Wealthy citizens subscribed private credit to the cause. Franklin begged in Europe, cajoling French bankers with promises of repayment someday. Ordinary people endured shortages. They bartered what they had and treated every act of endurance as proof of their commitment. Because every time a Continental dollar changed hands, it wasn't just a purchase, it was a vote of confidence in the revolution itself. A gamble not on bread, but on independence. The phrase "not worth a Continental" survives as a punchline these days, but at the time, it was deadly serious. It described a government being held together with paper, an army nearly undone by it, and a people forced to decide whether they trusted the dream more than the money in their hands. In the end, the revolution survived not because the money worked, but because the people refused to give up. Every worthless bill, every bartered egg, every month without pay became evidence of sacrifice. And sacrifice became the currency that carried America through.